What's happening, everybody? Brian here, the Pace Pusher, talking long endurance runs, low heart rate, why do it, and the benefits to it, as well as recapping week 4. Let's get to it. What's happening, everybody? Welcome to week 4. Again, my name is Brian, the Pace Pusher. We've gone a month into my training from marathon to 100 miles. If you're liking what you're hearing, make sure you hit subscribe. Check out the link below. It's got my entire training log from everything from what I was supposed to do to what I did do and how I was feeling that day, as well as a couple weeks forward, so that way you can see where things are progressing. So, want to jump right into week 4. This week I wasn't able to get quite the mileage that I wanted to, even though I'm moving my long run from Saturday to next week because I am pacing the Surf City Huntington Beach Marathon for the 3:15 group. So this week I got in 7 runs over 6 days, total of 57.05 miles. For 7 hours and 23 minutes of total training. All this week was done at low heart rate training, which what I'm going to be talking about a lot today is kind of the science behind the low heart rate training and why I do it, and the benefits from the cardiovascular to the muscle and to the nervous system, and the benefits from that. So, this week there was like I said, low heart rate, everything under 150 beats per minute. As you can see from my graph here, it was Monday, typical rest day, and then Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, double run on Friday, and then Saturday with another 11 miles in. So nothing out of the ordinary this week. I was able to get 2 different foam roll sessions in, and I was able to get 3 hypervolt sessions in to keep the legs fresh. I will say my legs, after doing an entire week of easy runs, no hills, no tempos, they are feeling fresh. The reason I wanted to do this is just in case I do have to put in a little bit more tempo, get my heart rate up above 150 for the 3:15 marathon. It is that day that's going to be my more difficult day in the training. So I'm really focused on that. I'm not too concerned about the 3:15, but I wanted to make sure that I was ready to be able to pace the people that are around me. So what I wanted to talk today about was endurance training. Why am I doing all of this low heart rate, and put a little bit of science behind it. So one of the things that I always look at is the data and the science and the reasoning behind this stuff. So you can always hear about maffetone, you can hear about low heart rate training, a lot of different things. One of the things that I like about Greg McMillian, he's got McMillian McMillian Running, which is a website that he dedicates all to running, training, multiple different training plans that you can purchase. The link I will have below so you guys can take a look at it. I am not affiliated with him. I just think the research and the science that he has on there is fantastic. So shout out to Greg McMillian and McMillian Running. I think you guys are doing an awesome job. So keep it up. But one of the things that he does, he kind of breaks it down into 4 different training platforms and in a graph. He has the endurance training. He has stamina, or what most people would call tempo or threshold training. Then he has speed work, and then he has sprint work. And so all of this encompasses a lot of different types of training, and I do spend a lot of time in the threshold when I'm training for the marathon. and as well as in the speed. But as I'm transitioning into the ultra world, I am spending a huge chunk of time in the endurance space. And yes, a bulk of my training in marathon is in the endurance, but not as much as I'm doing right now. So what is endurance? So let's take a look at this graph here. As you can see, it's got 4 different plots that are coming along with his training pathway. And so one of the benefits that I like that you can see here on this graph is he talks about where as you're increasing your quote unquote race pace. So he talks a lot about what the race pace distances are for, or race pace time. So as we go across the bottom here, you can see 10-hour race pace all the way down to 1-minute race pace. And so what this does is that's the fastest you can run in the duration of that period. And if you look at the far left of the graph, the endurance portion of this training encompasses everything from 10 hours all the way to 3.5 hours. It's a massive range for you to have in your easy runs. And so that's why when you're putting things into like a VDOT calculator, if you're using McMillian's Running's calculator, the easy pace is such a wide range, and that allows you really to focus on that heart rate or keeping it low heart rate. And that's kind of what Maftone looks at, is not necessarily the pacing, but keeps it all in that heart rate. So as McMillan talks about it, there's three core areas that the endurance training benefits. It helps out with the cardiovascular, it helps out with the muscles, and it helps out with the nervous system. So we're going to go into each of these and talk about it, but the first thing that he goes into is he talks a lot about the cardiovascular system. And basically what you're doing while you're in this low heart rate training is we're helping build the amount of blood per beat that we're able to send into our muscles. So as we're training in this low endurance, think of that each heartbeat is pumping more and more blood to our muscles in order to build it up. So he calls that the stroke volume. So every beat of that heart is sending way more blood down to the muscles. So that way what we're able to do is run at less beats per minute at a faster pace to push more muscles. And so that's why you hear a lot of people talk about, as they're doing their Maftone testing or their Maftone training, they're noticing that they're keeping the same heartbeat, but their paces are constantly getting faster as they go throughout this training. That goes directly to this cardiovascular aspect of low heart rate training. So as we move into the muscles, we'll talk about the increase of the mitochondria and what that helps do. So the mitochondria are the powerhouse of the cell. I'm not going to get super technical into it, but think of the mitochondria as the aspect of the cell that does everything from breaking down to building energy and giving the muscles what they need at the cellular level. And so from the muscle standpoint, low heart rate training helps build these mitochondria and helps produce the energy from the blood to the muscles. The second thing that it does for the muscles, it helps it pull and be able to run off fat versus simply running off glucose. And so imagine the ability to not just run off carbohydrates, but run off fat. And so that's why you hear a lot of people that work out in this low heart rate training aspect call it fat burning workouts. The other thing it does is it helps build more glycogen storage. So for carbohydrate work, and when you do fill up your glycogen storages, there's more of them when you train in this endurance aspect. And so you hear a lot of people talk about the 80-20, doing 80% of your runs in the easy range. And this is to really help with this muscle aspect of training. This is a side note of mine that I believe from a muscle and skeletal standpoint is that it allows us to be able to handle more duration on our feet. And so we can't expect to go out and do a threshold run for 2.5, 3 hours other than at the race without hurting ourselves in the long run of training. So what I believe is that this really helps get used to our body to be on our feet for that long. So that's another muscle skeletal benefit from that side. The other thing is from the kind of the nervous system of it. And so what it allows us to do is helps develop the slow twitch muscles and the running economy. And so from the nervous standpoint, it allows that economy of motion to constantly get repeated and understood and developed. And so these are really the three overarching reasons why I focus so much on this low heart rate. Most of it being towards the cardiovascular in the muscle standpoint, but also bettering my running economy, because I'm always focused on how do I increase the ability for me to stay smooth and produce less energy in order to go further. So that's one of the aspects that we're looking at. If you have any question on that, shoot me a message. But those are kind of the biggest things on endurance training. I will, as I'm starting to build out more videos on marathon training, talk a lot about stamina and threshold, but I wanted to focus simply on that today. So moving forward, I'm not going to go into specific workouts this week because they're all kind of vanilla. They're all simple, easy, under 145, 150 beats per minute, just simple miles. When we look at next week, I'm really excited to talk to you guys about the pacing that I do for the Huntington Beach, as well as I am putting in 2 double days. So if we look at month 2, what are my goals in month 2? I want to increase to 2 days a week doing PM runs. I think that will be a huge thing that will boost the miles. Every week in February is going to be 70 plus miles, hopefully, pending work. The nice thing is I only got one little bit of work travel that's going to be towards the end of the month, so I should be able to stay here and focus on that training. So thanks everybody for watching this one. If you have any questions about the endurance training, make sure you reach out, hit subscribe below, send this to a friend, check out the other videos in the training plans, and I look forward to talking to you for week number 5. Take care.